Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We meet once again on a Sunday for our political discussion. It's a red Sunday, the 13th of February 2022. Just a day before the Valentine's Day. I do not celebrate Valentine's Day, and I don't expect that the communists are busy buying presents for Valentine, and I don't think there's a communist out there that celebrate Valentine's Day. But we are continuing with discussing the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party as adopted at the first Congress in 2019 in Bulawayo, titled Completing the Liberation of Zimbabwe, Power to the Workers and the Peasants. In this video, we want to deal with the beginning of the workers' movement in Zimbabwe, in what today we call Zimbabwe, and probably look into the beginning of the National Liberation Movement as we know it. Let's then get started. I am Mabuto Nicholas Mapena, General Secretary of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Please like this video, write your comments. We want to hear your own understanding of the history of Zimbabwe, because we said in this segment and in the next few videos we will be looking into the history of Zimbabwe. So we might be raising issues that you do not agree with, raising issues that you think they are not correct. Please share your own experiences or your own understanding for that matter, so that we continue to have this discussion. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. What we note in our program is that in the last video we spoke about the industrialization that was beginning to take place after the Privy Council, the British Privy Council, that joined two territories known as the Ndebele Kingdom, or what is now referred to as Mtwagazi, and Zimbabwe in 1898. And this is where we see the development of capitalism taking root, the building of factories, industries. Though of course we noted that it began in 1890, but in 1898, after the two territories were joined together, we saw the capitalism taking root, factories being built, mining taking place, workers being mobilized to work in the farms. We also noted in the previous video that in 1923 the rule of the British South African Company was brought to an end, and the land which was known as Rhodesia then had what was called the self-governance or self-rule. So we note that the first recorded strike in what is now Zimbabwe was the Coliar Strike. It happened on the 31st of December 1912. It was on the issue of salaries and working long hours. Though the workers were not yet organized into a union organization, it was indeed the first strike at the Coliar on 31st December 1912. But what is significant is the role that was played by a Malawian or a comrade of Malawian origin, Clemens Kadali. Clemens Kadali formed the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, in South Africa. You know, we always argue that workers do not have a country, workers do not have borders, and we have always made the point that migrants have a right to join trade unions. So if you're a migrant, whether documented and undocumented, whether you're in South Africa, you're a migrant in Zimbabwe, in Nigeria, in Ivory Coast, wherever you are, or even you are working in Europe, you are working in North America, a worker must belong to a trade union. So migrant also must belong to trade union. So Clement Kadile formed or founded the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union in South Africa. This union gained a lot of traction in South Africa during the 1920s, and in 1928 a branch of this union was formed in Bulawayo. You remember, Bulawayo was the industrial hub in Southern Africa. So in Bulawayo it was led by Masocha Ndlovu, as he became the Zimbabwe's first notable trade union leader. Masocha Ndlovu also had spent time in South Africa, where he had been influenced by the African National Congress and the Communist Party of South Africa, CPSA, at the time. So we're not the only ones who have been influenced by the South African Communist Party. We have the likes of Masocha Ndlovu, Joshua Nkomo, and others. If we read, you will discover that many nationalists and revolutionaries in Zimbabwe influenced by either the South African Communist Party and the African National Congress. The railways were the biggest employers of labor in southern Rhodesia, and the white workers organized the country's first really effective trade union, the Rhodesian Railways Workers Union. During the First World War in 1919 and 1920, staging very successful strikes. But the Rhodesian Railways Workers Union was racist. It did not allow black members in its ranks. But the success of the white trade union was not lost to African workers who organized themselves into the Rhodesian Railways African Employees Union, which was to stage the first successful strike by Africans in 1945 after the end of the Second World War. This strike spread across the region to what was known as Northern Rhodesia, now Zambia, and for the first time workers in Zimbabwe discovered the benefits of organization and discipline. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, two working class organizations played a major role in expanding the day-to-day trade union and other struggles of the people for improved conditions, leading to the beginning of national consciousness. So national consciousness began with the organizing of workers at the workplace. So people were conscientized when they belonged to trade unions. These were the Salisbury-based Reformed Industrial Commercial Union and the Bulawayo-based African Voice Association. So there were basically two at the time. One based in now what is Harare, to Salisbury, then the Reformed Industrial and the Commercial Union. And then in Bulawayo, it was African Voice Association. One, of course, would want to think, or someone would think that because one was based in Harare, to what is now Harare, one was based in Bulawayo, therefore it means that they were led by the people from the two regions, it is not the case. So the active member of the Industrial Commercials Union, Chasim Zingeli, who was born near Plumtree, moved to Salisbury in 1929. Mzingeli, in 1946, Mzingeli formed the Reformed Industrial and Commercial Union. He was strongly influenced by Masocha Ndlovu. And the Masocha Ndlovu and the South African and the Communist Party of South Africa and the underground Southern Rhodesian Communist Party, which was established in 1941 until 1949. So we are not, as we have always said, that we are not the first communist party in what is now called Zimbabwe. There was a communist party, Southern Rhodesian Communist Party, founded in 1941 until 1949. It was led by a German diplomat, Gottfried Lessing, who became a future diplomat in German Democratic republic. So Charles Mzingeli, based in Harare, then he founded the trade union, which continued to defend the rights of workers at the workplace, and also fought for better conditions in the urban areas for women to live together with their men flocks. Because you know, if you study our history, you will know that workers, as we said in the last video, that our rural communities became a breeding ground for the next labor force. Our mothers or women who were not working were in the villages to raise the next labor force. So our fathers or grandfathers, men, would live in the men's hostel, where their wives were not allowed to stay there. So a woman would live in the village, while the father or the husband will live in the city, where there were special residential areas known as hostels, which were basically men's hostels. So in Harare, Salisbury, then Charles Mzingeli became a key leader of the trade union movement, and also understanding the conditions that you do not only fight for the rights of workers at the workplace, but also fight for their conditions where they live. Then in Bulawayo, a man by the name Benjamin Burambo was born in Buhera, went to work in South Africa as a young man, where he was also influenced by the Industrial Commercial Union, the ANC, Communist Parties of South Africa. In the early 1940s, he left South Africa for Bulawayo, where he organized the British African National Voice Association, which soon became simply the African Voice Association. This organization started as a trade union, but soon became wider in scope. So you have Charles Mzingeli, born around the Bulilima Plantry, moving to Harare in 1929, where he then leads a trade union in Harare. And then you have Benjamin Barombo, born in Buhera, who then moves, after he spent time in South Africa, then he moves to Bulawayo and establishes the African Voice Association, which was basically a trade union. So, and of course, the association, the African Voice Association, initiated the 1948 General Strike, which was joined by other trade unions, including the one that was led by Charles Mzingeli. Also, Benjamin Burambo, his organization, fought land grabs by white settlers in the courts, often with a degree of success. As a person who organized both workers and rural peasants before the National Liberation Struggle started in earnest, we of course refer to Benjamin Burambo as the godfather, as the grandfather, sorry to say, the grandfather of Zimbabwe. There's father Zimbabwe, as you know, that Joshua Nkomo is referred to as father Zimbabwe, and we refer to Benjamin Burambo as the grandfather of Zimbabwe. The 1948 General Strike forced the government to elevate working conditions. What was most important about the strike was that it was truly national. It involved workers in different industries. Thus, it began to acquire a political aspect. So, workers were not organized along ethnic groups. They were not organized along tribes. They understood that they are a class on its own against the employer. So, they organized themselves to fight for better working conditions, for better wages. So they did not look into the origins of any person or even the leader. This is why Charles Mzingeli did not have problems in leading a union in an area which was predominant Shona-speaking people. So was Benjamin Burambo, who led the trade union movement in Bulawayo, which was predominantly Ndebele speaking. So it was not about the ethnic background of a person, but it was to understand that workers must unite against the capitalist class, must unite against the bourgeoisie, must unite against the employers who continue to exploit them. So as the Zimbabwe Communist Party, as I'm concluding this discussion for this Red Sunday today on the 13th of February 2022, is that we must build strong unions in Zimbabwe. The collapse of the economy in Zimbabwe has meant that the trade union movement has been weakened. The Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions is no longer as militant as it was in 1997, 1998. It has been weakened because it has been losing members ever since. The unions that are active, that are taken to the streets in the last 3-4 years are unions that are organizing in the public sector or public sector unions. The teachers unions, nurses, they are the ones that are visible, taking to the streets. But the industrial unions, as we would know them, because of the economic collapse, because of unemployment, and the fact that the majority of the working people who should be in the industries are now in the informal sector. So that this has weakened the organization of workers into trade unions because people are in the informal sector. So the task that we have as the Zimbabwe Communist Party is to understand, as we have seen here, that we do not need to organize workers along ethnic lines, but we must organize workers to raise their class consciousness. We must organize in the informal sector, not along ethnic lines, but to raise the class consciousness of those that are in the informal sector. We must, of course, mobilize the entire society, be residents association, rural-based organizations. So as we are starting here, as I'm also concluding, that the leadership of the trade union movement as it began, it was not based on one ethnic background, which of course is destroying our great nation today, because we have a tendency of wanting to mobilize ourselves along ethnic lines. A communist party does not mobilize along ethnic lines. A communist party organizes the working class, because this is a class. We are the majority as the working class and peasants. We are oppressed by the minority, the looting class. So please, comrades, write your views. We want to understand wherever you are. Are you a member of a trade union? If you are a member of a trade union, what are the challenges that your trade union is going through? Be it in Zimbabwe or you're in the diaspora, what are the challenges that you are facing as a trade union movement? What is it that you think must be done to strengthen your trade union movement? If you are a worker, you are not a member of the trade union movement, please share with us, why are you not a member of a trade union movement? Whether you are in Zimbabwe, you are in the diaspora, why don't you belong to a trade union movement? We want to know so that we can assist each other. Otherwise, comrades, we will meet again as we continue to discuss the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party as adopted at its first Congress in Bulawayo in 2019. Like the video, write your comments as I have requested, that share with us your experiences that you are encountering in your trade union movement, or if you are not a member of the trade union movement, why are not a trade union movement, a member of the trade union, and please subscribe. Otherwise, Amandla, comrade, goodbye.